These are the number of jobs that were added to the US economy in the last year, which the Bureau of Labour Statistics releases every month in the jobs report. Or really, these are the initial number of jobs added to the economy. Each report also revises the number of the last 3 months. These are the latest revisions. Last September was only off by 1,000. Last July's was more typical, about 30,000. But the latest revision, May and June's, were way off. President Trump was not happy, and he fired the BLS commissioner.
The numbers were ridiculous, which he announced.
When they keep being revised all over the place, then there are going to be people that wonder if there's a partisan pattern in the data.
Here's how the BLS collects this data, why the revision was so dramatic, and what this means for the future of BLS data. The jobs report, or really it's called the employment situation, is made up of 2 surveys. The household one, which calculates the unemployment rate, and the establishment survey, which calculates non-farm payroll employment, aka the number of jobs. While the household survey is asking 60,000 people questions like, last week did you work? And if you didn't, why not? The establishment survey is a form that is sent to 650,000 workplaces, like state and local governments, manufacturers, retailers, you get it. And they're asked to fill out these forms of how many employees they have, what their payroll was, and what their hours were. Roughly 2 weeks later, when the first job report comes out, only about 60% of establishments have completed them. There's a number of reasons why. This place could have closed. This place could have an accountant on vacation. But mostly,
this isn't the top priority for companies, right?
The most common answer is that they were too busy.
But by 3 months later, more than 90% of places have responded, which is why the BLS does a revision. So why even release the initial numbers?
There is information in the preliminary release, and you don't want to sit on it. People want to know right now. The Federal Reserve wants to know right now. But 2 months later, if the data is much better, you don't want to sit on that either. You want to tell people a much better guess.
When a revision is larger than normal, the BLS doesn't give a lengthy analysis.
It's normal for BLS not to explain those differences, because then they're doing a job outside of the job they're supposed to do, which is to take the data and statistically make modifications to the estimates based on the data.
This isn't even the last time these numbers will be revised. They're revised twice a year with unemployment insurance data, and even 10 years later with census data.
There's a sense in which they're never totally final, but they get more and more final over time.
But revisions aren't usually this large. So what happened?
The most common reason, in my view, for large revisions is the economy is coming out of a slow time or moving into a slow time. Say it's coming out of a slow time. The second and third months may look even better than the first month because they're submitted later.
Same idea going into a slow time. The second and third months may look worse than the first.
The second one is that you have a real difference between the way the world worked this year and the way the world worked last year.
That's the ongoing theory for August's revisions. Late responses skewed more negative than expected. Employment in schools and the federal government was especially low compared to last year.
There's a suspicion that the schools are not hiring as much now as they did last year because they have run out of COVID-era money.
The one thing experts, both inside and outside of the BLS, don't think it is politics.
I could not change the numbers. I had no access to the input data, to the programs, to the preliminary results, to any of that. None of that.
The upper bound of my influence was 0. I didn't see the data until Wednesday morning. By that time, there was no way I could have influenced that data.
The best way to make revisions less drastic, they argue, is to get this completion rate for the first report higher. While responding to the survey isn't mandatory under federal law, it is mandatory in these states. Incentives for responding and improved delivery systems could also help. But there's a fear that the response rate won't go up if these businesses think their data might be used for politics.
Anything that erodes trust is really bad for the statistical system, but the most important thing is it's bad for the country because this is infrastructure that supports many of the most important decisions that companies make. So this is a big deal.
President Trump needs to appoint a sterling individual who will come in to restore trust and quality and improve BLS.